injury, what champions do to overcome mental struggles that come with serious injuries. Nikki, you've had a knee injury. It will resonate with a lot of our clients. Knee surgeries, back issues, shoulder problems. I think it'd be really good just to kind of hear a bit of your story.
I've had this injury for 10 years now. I've just had my 5th surgery on it.
When you first get injured, you have this belief that it's done. Where's that belief come from? One, you know you're injured, and two, you're emotional, so you're just gone to the worst case scenarios.
With clients, when they do get injured, their hot streak just comes to a halt. The momentum just stops. For most people, they have that just feeling of like, I'm done.
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Superhuman Show, yeah?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Superhuman Show with your host, Ben Olliver, joined with the doc, Taylor Waters, Ryan Stevens, and special guest, Coach Nikki Donovan. So if we stutter or sweat more than usual, we don't normally talk to women. And,
The boys seem quiet today.
but this is probably a good one for you to be on this episode, because we're talking all things injury. So I would say what champions do to overcome the mental struggles that come with serious injuries and kind of how they adapt to it. So I know, Nikki, you've had a knee injury for quite some time now. So it's probably good if we kind of dive into that first and just how you've approached it, how you've approached your training, the mental toll that it's taken as well. Because I think it will probably be it will resonate with a lot of our clients, because we do have a lot of clients that have had knee surgeries, back issues, shoulder problems. We get a lot of clients that are ex-athletes. Maybe they've had an injury in their 20s or 30s and now they're in their 50s and they're still kind of managing it because they didn't manage it properly then. So I think it'd be really good just to kind of hear a bit of your story, and then we can kind of break it down bit by bit and offer some advice for clients that are going through something similar.
Well, it's a very long story, so I'll keep it short.
Yeah, we got 25 minutes, so yeah, wrap it up.
Ideally, keep it going for the whole thing. I have to do anything then.
Well, I've had this injury for 10 years now, so I've just had my 5th surgery on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a freak accident. So ACL rupture, which happens a lot in sport, especially in the 20s, especially as females. I won't go too much down the physio side, but it's just a high risk really at that age, especially, and as a female. But just ended up having surgery after surgery. They couldn't quite correct it. It kind of got worse. And then I had to have a major surgery last year, essentially. So I'm 36 now. And it's been a year and 2 weeks, and I'm still rehabbing at the moment.
So just like, because I know you've told me kind of roughly what they had to do with that surgery, but just so people know I guess like not severity, but just like it was a very like rough surgery. So yeah, talk about what they had to do.
Well, I was just plodding along, and then I woke up one day and I just was in a lot of pain, which normally I can manage because I've had it for so long. It's quite normal. You know, my pain threshold's probably quite high by now because I'm just used to it and I just manage my training. But when I had a scan, because it was in so much pain, there was just no joint space at all in my knee. So when they scanned me, my femur was just completely at the wrong alignment. So they had to fracture my femur in 3 places and realign my leg and then put the plate in. But again, along the way, lots of things happened. So I woke up from surgery and there was a accidental 4th fracture, and then the plate was screwed in really tight so it couldn't heal. And I ended up being on crutches for 14 weeks in the end. So I was off work and everything at the time. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of your training is now like CrossFit. That's where it's gone now. But you first injured your knee, you said, like 10 years ago or so. What were you doing then sport-wise?
At the time.
Was it CrossFit back then as well, or were you doing a different sport or a real sport?
Yeah, we're talking to you, Meg.
Definitely weren't squatting with that.
Well, it's quite funny because everyone's like, oh, what did you do at CrossFit? You must have got injured doing that, which I actually didn't. So it was a freak accident, as I say. But at the time, I was just running, not doing any strength work, just like doing 10Ks and things like that. Didn't really have much of an appreciation of the gym as such. And then my sister's a rugby player. She's like, come and play this rugby game, you know, touch rugby. And someone just fell against my knee, and I'm hypermobile because I was a gymnast when I was younger and just ruptured my ACL.
So you weren't like lifting or anything back then? You weren't CrossFitting back then? So when did that stuff come into play?
I had 2 ops, first of all. And then for some reason, my athlete brain was like, I'm going to try CrossFit. So In that sense, CrossFit's been really good because it is quite adaptive, and also it gave me a lot of appreciation for strength training, which I'm sure we'll go in later on. But from that sense, I don't know CrossFit any different. So, people are like, do you compete and things like that? Not really, but I never really had that option. So it's not something that I feel like I'm missing out on. And when I see the comps, I'm like, I think I'm okay.
Yeah. I guess when you've come from like an athletic background, isn't it? You'll do whatever you can to keep going. So when you're getting injured, just adapt. Where I think a lot of people is when they get injured, it's like, oh, well, that's the end of it. And it's like, there's so much more you can do, to keep the game going. But it's very, very easy just to like knock on the head, isn't it?
Like you did with your shoulder, just laid in bed and cried.
I was about to ask you about that, because I think the thing that we see the most with clients when they do get an injured is like it's like their hot streak just comes to a halt, like the momentum just stops, where maybe they're in a fat loss phase, they're kicking ass, and then they tweak their back, their shoulder or something, and it's almost like for most people they have that just feeling of like, I'm done. Like that's kind of like, now this thing has happened, I can't do anything else. I'm not sure what you were doing when you had to have your shoulder surgery. I can't remember what phase you were in of your training, but you were out for a while, with your arm in a sling. You had some good atrophy going on that side. And I think as well, this is good to touch on, because previously you competed in a aesthetic sport where when you then look in the mirror and you see your arm half the size of the other arm, that's got to mess with your head a little bit, thinking like, is it going to come back? Like, is this it now? Did you have any of those days where you were just like, what am I doing?
I think, whenever I've got injured or had, like, I'm one who does panic at first. Like, my first thought is, it's over. Even if it's like quite a small injury, like
sprain your ankle.
I'm done. That's it. It's done. But mate, that's generally the way my brain works when it first happens. And I'm sure like you thought as well, like when you were having the surgeries, it's like, oh, what am I going to be able to do after? And then once like the initial emotion settles and you realize, okay, it's not game over. I dealt with it a lot better than I thought I would. Like, I think one of the reasons I put off having the operation for so long is because I didn't want to go down that road of like, I'm going to be out, I'm going to have it strapped up. Because the recovery time with my shoulder was it's not that long, considering you've just said you're like...
No, it's still long. It's still long.
Yeah. Now it sounds pretty short, but it was like I had to have my arm in a sling for like 12 weeks, no movement. Then it was like 4 weeks of like assisted movement, and then it was like 6 months before I could put any stress through it, really. So it was quite a long time. But as long as you almost just got to change the goal, like as soon as you shift the goal, because if my goal was to get bigger at that time, well, yeah, I'd constantly be stressing, I'd be pissed off because I'm getting smaller. But my goal was just be like, right, I'm just going to try and, like, I think I set some like aerobic stuff on the bike because it was just like stationary. I set some like strength goals on that single side with my legs and things. So I was always training for something. And then the next thing, and also I was looking at like, because it was like 6 months, but I'd broken that up, was like, okay, in 6 weeks I can start moving my hand. Okay, in another 6 weeks I can take my sling off and I can walk around without it. So then I always had these like touch points that I was looking forward to. And it actually went way faster and it was way easier than I thought. I didn't stress too much about the muscle loss side of things. I used to hang out with skinnier guys.
Yeah. Just every single picture. Why is he stood sideways?
Do you know, like with clients that I've had injuries with, like a lot of it is to do with like the mindset. It's like, how do you think when something doesn't go your way? And that's like a growth opportunity there. It's like, because like you can have your original thoughts like, oh, this sucks, it's over. But it's what you do about it after. Do you control what you can or do nothing at all? So it's like, I'll often speak to my clients. It's like, when something's not going your way, like now, this is a growth opportunity in terms of like, how am I going to respond? Am I going to do whatever I can, or am I just going to whinge about it and do nothing?
That's the difference, because you hurt your shoulder a couple of years ago as well, and
I haven't seen anyone about it.
You haven't.
That's my downfall.
You
that's
haven't.
My downfall.
You're the worst client you are.
Yeah, so that's another thing for clients, like, do see someone about it.
Yeah. Don't do what I do.
But equally, I think, because your mindset is always like, shit needs to get done. Yeah. And so the first thing you'll do is like, okay, well, this hurts, so I can't do it. Can I do this? Can I do that? cool, I'm just going to do that. And then you just move on.
Yeah.
And because there's, you got family, you got kids, you got work. It's like, I can't wallow in self-pity.
Yeah.
I'm just going to adapt, and maybe I just don't press anymore or whatever.
That's literally what I did. I literally took my training program and I literally went through all the movements. Like, oh, that's no way. Oh, that's good. I'll do more of that. And then I just carried on.
Yeah.
To this
Again,
day.
I think just because of the identity that we have, though, and we, like, when you look on the priority list, it's so high up, like fitness and training and stuff for us. So, I think I had the operation on the Thursday and I was back in the gym on Monday. Like, there was only a few days off. Like, you still train now with the shoulder, you just adapted. Like, you've had 5 ops and every time you're still going back to the things you do. But I think it can be more challenging when it's not that high up on your priority list. It's not really a big part of who you are. Like, you're just someone who, say now you're trying to get into fitness. Say now you're in like your first 3 months and then your back goes. Now it's more like, oh, this fitness, like
It sucks.
my back was fine before I started doing this
Yeah.
fitness thing. And now my back's gone and they just knock it on the head. So I think it becomes a little bit more challenging when you're dealing with people who aren't as, like, obviously experienced in the fitness field, but also it doesn't mean as much to them.
Well, I was going to say, it's about having an appreciation of it, isn't it? So that's what we're trying to get people to do, is actually see the value of training. But that comes with rehab as well. And there's quite a lot of sort of crossover with that. But I think it depends on where they are in their fitness journey as well. Because when I worked as a physical therapist, sometimes people were motivated to do rehab. They just didn't really know what to do and they were too scared to make it worse. Whereas us, we would be able to adjust and adapt our training. Whereas you need that sort of guide to make sure or give you confidence that you're not going to make it worse or do anything wrong. Because I don't think people trust themselves.
The other thing is that's a huge one, because normally if you go to just like a general practitioner, they'll say rest it for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. There's really they don't have thorough training on specific injuries. So I would always see a physical therapist, a qualified physio, a chiropractor, like someone that has experience with the injury that you're experiencing. Because even when I really injured my back last year, like that one was kind of like, I think I've really done it now. And it's like, I can't even walk, like, kind of thing. And like, my goal was just to be able to walk pain free. And that didn't happen for like
You were not in
10
good shape.
months. Like, it was really bad.
I remember when I spoke to you after you did it, I was like, oh, it doesn't sound good.
Oh,
What was that one? You dropped something on the floor, like some food you couldn't bend over and
couldn't even
pick
do
up.
it. It was like the house was a stake, because like if I dropped something, I was like, I can't pick it up.
Yeah.
And
It was a state before the injury.
For everyone listening, Ben's collecting slip discs. He's on like number 5 now.
Yeah, but I remember when it happened. It's like I got home and then I had a bunch of work calls, and I knew my back was kind of freezing up. And then I rang my girlfriend at the time and was like, I think I need to go to A&E. Like, I can't move. And she literally had to help me get into my car. Oh no, I had to get into her car, which was a real struggle because it's fucking tiny. And then it took me 15 minutes to get out of the car. And then just to go from the car park to the doors, which is like 30 meters, took me about 20 minutes. God. And I was literally just like shuffling. And they had to like wheelchair me in for the MRI because I was like, I can't walk, it's too far away. Had to lean on something. Like, they had to help me in and out of the MRI because I couldn't sit up. And in my head, I was just like, if they come back and just be like, you've just completely blown a disc, like, you're done, I'm just going to be like, fuck. Because I love lifting heavy. And it's like, that's part of like my identity is like, I like being strong. And I'm just like, so that's over.
But that was it. That's that thing that we're talking about is, I bet the initial thought was the panic of,
oh, for
that's
sure.
done.
Yeah.
Like that part of my life, that big part of my life is gone.
Because they kind of got worse and worse. And that was like the big, because, you know, I've tweaked my back in the past and it's like, yeah, it's sore for a while. And then you get back to it. Whereas this was like, I can't sleep, like, my back's in so much pain. And then, but then the good thing is I managed to speak to a guy, Nick, who I was working with for my rehab, who's an osteo. And because he's a meathead as well, it really reassured me in terms of my confidence of like, it's going to be painful. It's going to go again, but like, we're going to put you in a position that when it does go, you can bounce back way faster. It's not going to put you out for 6 months. Because my back went like 3 weeks ago and it's already 95% now. But it was that kind of like, it's never going to be perfect again. But if you always avoid doing anything on your back, it's going to get even worse because you're not going to strengthen anything around it. So it was great because then he kind of got me like back under the bar doing lifting and stuff again and having a bit of confidence. But I think that's the thing that affects people as well is, say you tweak a shoulder or you tear your pec benching or something. It's always the first time you go back to that movement. And it's that fear of like, oh God, is it going to happen again? It's like the first time I did like a deadlift again, I'm like, fucking hell, it's just going to pop. And then it doesn't. And you're like, it takes a while to build the confidence back up. But I don't know if you had the same with your shoulder, where it was like, okay, this does, like, because I remember even when we'd had calls, I could see you like moving your arm and it would be tight.
Yeah.
But then you'd still go back and be like, I need to keep working it in that range, otherwise
Yeah.
it's never going to improve.
Yeah.
But it's that difference between like discomfort and no, don't do that, it's painful. But like rehabbing, like, I mean, you can probably talk more about this, but like generally speaking, like rehab is a little bit painful. Like it's almost like a 3 out of 10 pain where like something's weak or something's out of place and it's uncomfortable doing it. Like no one does rehab, but it's like, this feels great. Like it's quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, so we'd normally work between a 3 or 4 out of 10 pain, and then you'd also want to look at the volume in that training session. So not just doing random movements and not knowing how many reps and things like that. And then also the 24-hour pattern after that of how it settles, because it really, you want to get some response and a stimulus out of it at the time.
Yeah.
It just depends on how fast it settles after that. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck where you are. And I think that's the part that people are afraid to push at.
Yep.
But again, it depends on the advice they've been given. If they've been told to rest, then it's going to be much harder sort of headspace to work from. Whereas you want to be working with someone who can sort of help you manage that intensity and the volume and sort of monitor how it settles, really.
Yeah.
So I think as well, Taze, you had issues with your back, didn't you? And you used to avoid all work with it, but now in your training, you specifically do.
Yeah.
You specifically
Rounded back training.
Yeah. Side bends.
Yeah.
You specifically train your back through different movement patterns to strengthen it.
Yeah, well, I think I got a disc. Like I remember doing like deadlift when I was like 18, just like no warm up, just going in like yanking way too heavy weights. And I remember my back went on one, and I had sciatica down my left leg for like 18 months or so. So I'd imagine there's some, and even now, like if I bend over at the waist, I can feel like a pull down at that lower back area. So I would imagine, I've never had it scanned, but I would imagine there's something going on down there. But what I found was, and that's what I did, I just avoided any lower back work. So a lot of my leg work went to like seated work. A lot of my like any rows and stuff was always like chest supported. And you look at my erectors, they're small. They're very, even now they're underdeveloped. And like you look at my deadlift and stuff, it's pants. And it's like, but now, and like what I found, I used to pull my back very easy, but now I train my core a lot more. Like I train my back in those positions where it does feel a bit risky. And I remember doing like the like Jeffersons with literally like 30 kilos and feeling like, oh my God, this feels so unnatural to just bend over with a hunched back.
Yeah.
And now like I'll ramp it up to like set a 60 with like, but moving the bar quite fast as well. So I'm down like with a hunch back, and I can pull it up like really confident in those movements, side bends, rotations. And my back is, one, I feel so much more confident when I move, but also like I haven't twinged my back in a hot second.
It's one thing I wish I did when I was younger, because you always get taught everything with a straight back, never round your back. But when you start lifting heavy, you are going to get out of those perfect positions, and if you've never been in them, this is when you tweak. And it's like when if people, because this has happened to me as well. Like let's say someone doesn't have very good mobility. And so let's just say they can only squat to parallel, they can't go below parallel. If they do like a thorough warm up, they do loads of mobility stuff. Now when they squat, they can squat ass to grass. If they then load that up because they're feeling really good, they'll probably injure themselves in that bottom portion because you've never been down there with load. And so it's like you're going 3 inches lower or whatever in your squat because you've got this extra range, but you've never put any load in that position. And I think that's like, you probably know the terms more than me, but like flexibility and mobility, where like some people can be really flexible, but they're really weak in those positions. Whereas like some guys can have great mobility, but like you put them in there with load and then shit hits the fan.
Yeah, so mobility would be more like strength through range. So you want to load that, not just go from 0 to 100, which everyone likes to do with anything really.
Yeah.
And it's confidence as well, isn't it? Because I have clients a lot of the time who, they're just starting out and they're like, oh, I'm not supposed to do anything for my back. And I'm just like, just give me a few weeks and we'll build up. And, we do start small. It is a lot of confidence things, but rehab can be quite humbling and it is quite hard. But a month in, they love it because they just never thought they'd be able to do these things, and they just feel really happy that they're progressing essentially.
Yeah.
I've seen people where they'll be like, oh, I can pull a 200 kilogram deadlift, then they'll pull their back like picking up a shopping bag. So
me.
Yeah. Because obviously
Turn off a light switch and sneeze, and I'm like, oh,
what do you mean, people? He sat there.
And it's like your body's just not used to those positions.
Yeah, 100%. when you like, because I guess most people will play some kind of sport when they're younger, when they're a kid, but it's like sprinting is a good one. Like as soon as you leave school, you never sprint again. And it's like, if you were to sprint now, you'd tear everything up. And it's like, it's use it or lose it.
Yeah.
And then if you go from, you haven't played basketball for years and then you go play a game of five-a-side or whatever, pickup, and then you sprain your ankles, you tweak your hips. And it's like, because you haven't done those things for that long. And I think people jump in too soon, too fast, just because it doesn't hurt then doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. Because I had the same thing with like tendonitis and things where people would be doing stuff and it's like, just because it doesn't hurt, it doesn't mean it's helping it, and it's probably slowing down the recovery process. But let's shift gears a little bit. So, because we always like to kind of give like a practical example if guys are going through this right now, but let's just say a client checks in with you and says, I've tweaked my back this week, really annoying, really down on myself, kind of what should I do? Like, I feel like I need to take a break from the program, which it's not uncommon. Because my first thoughts is always shifting the focus more to habits, nutrition, what they can do in the gym. But because most of our clients are in a fat loss phase, I would kind of explain to them like, hey, like the weight training is great to preserve muscle mass, but the nutrition is what's moving the needle in terms of the fat loss. And with a back injury and knee injury, like if you can still feed yourself, like we can still get results during this time. But I'd love to get your thoughts on what that initial conversation looks like with a client, and then where you try and shift the focus with them. I'll go to you first, Taylor.
I think me and Nick were chatting about this the other day. So if this is what you were going to say, I apologize because I'm about to steal it first. It's, I think one of the hardest things, especially when people enjoy training, like we just spoke about how we adapted all our training whenever we got injured, you adapted. But then for some people, like they enjoy, like standard bodybuilding style training, and then they've got injured, and then you're like, oh, well, we're going to go to the gym twice a week and do rehab. And it's like, they're like, I'm not driving to the gym to just go and do rehab for an hour. So it's like, you can straight away, even though that may be the best thing for them to do, they're not going to do it. So it's like, well, let's forget that plan then. So I think one of the key things is like, look, we're still going to adapt your training. So I'll say, look, we're still going to get in the gym and we're going to train some arms. We'll do a bit of leg extensions. We'll do some hammy curls or whatever. So we'll still do the things, or at least some of the things that you like to do. And then more like the rehab stuff, that stuff's then going to go alongside that. So you might start off the session with a bit of rehab, and then you get a bit of an arm pump at the end.
Yep.
Or you might go back and forth where you'll do like a bit of like bodybuilding style work, and then you'll do a little bit of rehab, or even superset the two. So you're doing like, say you got a bit of a knee issue, so you're doing some like iso holds, or like squat holds, and then you superset that with a seated dumbbell shoulder press. So it's like, I try to remove all the things that are irritating the area or going to put that area at risk, then build out what I can from like a fun standpoint, so they still enjoy that training, and then add in these other bits then that are going to start moving the needle from a recovery standpoint, and then you can start building that stuff back out. So at least when they're going to the gym, they're still excited. They're still, oh, I actually still like my training. It's not like, oh, the training's completely fallen apart. I've lost everything that I like, and now I'm just in here doing these balloon holes where I'm just like sort of rotating back and forth, because they're just not going to do it. So that's the first thing. So they're still excited about training. There's just these other things. Well, there's the risky stuff removed, and then there's these other things put back in to get that at least moving,
Yep.
Yeah.
I imagine something similar for you, Rye.
Yeah, so what I like to say as well is that, like when you said you were at your shoulder, and it's like your original thought is, it's over.
Yeah.
That's them texting you when their emotions are really high. It's like, how do I pause a program? It's all over. And then it's like, oh, can we jump on a call? And that's when I would go through what you say, Ben. It's like, okay, like, tell me why you think it's all over. And it's like, oh, well, did you know you're in fat loss and that we can still make progress? And then again, you adapt the program so that they can still progress towards their goals. But in that moment, especially with like high performers, because it's almost like they have the illusion that they've lost all control. So they're just going to vent to you. And then when you get on a call and explain to them, it's like, oh, actually, and they would have calmed down by then. Oh, actually, I can still progress. This is how we're going to progress. And you explain to them how you're going to do it. It's essentially what you just did.
Yeah.
I think it's a few things as well. Like you said, letting them have that moment as well, because it is frustrating, and like you can level with people. It's not just like, be positive. It is, a hard situation to be in. But then looking ahead, like Taylor said, rather than, because I think their instinct would be like, I just can't train, this has caused my injury or anything else. And with rehab as well, when you're loading it into a program, because rehab's quite hard, it can be quite humbling and it's quite uncomfortable to have to do it. It's not that it's too easy. It's actually difficult and it's work in areas of weakness. So that's why you need to sort of pair it with things that they actually enjoy, because no one wants to go and do stuff that they're not very good at for an hour.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned something really good there about like letting them like be angry, because like it is a crap situation.
Yeah.
And being like, I understand that it's a really tough time for you.
Yeah.
But this is what we can do.
So it really annoys me sometimes when people are like, just got to think positive. And it's like, no, it's shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just shit.
When you
But,
can't
like,
walk.
Yeah. Whereas like my goal be, it's not to think positive. It's like to try and just at least get to neutral, where it's like you can take it for what it is and you don't have to, you know, your goal is to get out of that negative headspace as fast as possible. But we're not trying to be like, oh, you know, look at the bright side. It's like, there's no bright side right now. Like, it's neutral. Like, here's the situation. But I think you mentioned it with your shoulder, like having these little milestones that you kind of work towards and having those kind of micro goals and almost making a pivot on the goal itself, where it's, you know, if you injure your back or something, it's like, right, our first goal is to do this thing pain-free. Once we can do that, we're going to get, like, set another goal of, I want you to have confidence doing a bodyweight squat. Like, and we kind of just, it's just those baby steps. Because if you, I mean, even for myself, like if I thought about it from the day I hurt my back to like, when am I going to be able to like squat heavy again? It's like, that's so far away. So it's like, you need to just think about, well, how can, like, you need to be really aware of the tiny little things that are improving. So it's like, oh, I managed to walk 30 meters without stopping instead of, you know, the other day where I couldn't walk. It's getting better.
Yeah.
If I just keep doing what I'm doing and focus on the stuff, it's improving. And then I think it's trying to have patience, because a lot of guys get a bit overzealous where they'll be like, yeah, it feels all right, I'll get back to it, and they re-injure it. And I think with things like shoulders, knees, back, you only get one of them. Well, you can have knee replacements, but like they're never the same. And so I would kind of be like, if you tweak your back, I'm kind of like, take your time going back to it. Deadlifts are always going to be there. Maybe you don't even need to do them. But I think if people rush back from injury, and you see it a lot with competitors and athletes where they've got a competition coming up and they're like, well, I need to get ready for it. And then they compete at like 90%. And they injure themselves in the competition. And then they're out for like 3 seasons because they have to have surgery and stuff because they tried to jump back too fast. And it sucks, but sometimes it's like you need to just take the time to recover.
I think that's like lack of perspective as well. And that's why you need a coach to sort of work with you on that. Because even though I've been doing this for 10 years, so I'm just so emotionally invested in it. I'm like, you know, it is difficult to sort of deal with. But then I think what you're saying as well is like the processes. And as well as training, that is half the battle, but also the day-to-day processes of what you can actually control. So at the time when I was injured, my main thing was getting off crutches. And I was like, I'm going to make sure I do every single thing this week, recovery-wise, you know, eating enough protein, things like that, just to be able to, you know, control the controllables and do my absolute best. So that happens as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then being able to laugh at yourself as well. So I remember like my first session, I was like, I want to be able to walk down the stairs and walk the dog and things like that. So it's just like, and I was like, this is hilarious that I'm in this position, but you just gotta go with it.
I remember
clean in triple fingers.
Yeah.
So like, now can I walk the dog?
I genuinely like, I remember I was sat laughing to myself once because it probably took me 20 minutes to wipe my ass because I couldn't twist my back. And I'm like, well, I can't use my left hand. It's like, I've never done that. And it's kind of like, and I'm like, what am I doing? And it was just like, but then again, small wins. It's like, oh, only in the bathroom for 15 minutes today. Like progress. Like, I could sit down on the toilet without wincing. But just like little things like that. But if anyone's listening that's been through those like really serious injuries, like they'll completely understand what we're talking about, where it's the day-to-day things that you completely take for granted. And you're kind of like, oh, I just want to be able to sleep through the night without getting nerve pain or something. And it's so, and we talk about this a lot, where like being able to work on your fitness and health is a privilege. And so it's like, if you're able-bodied and you don't have any of these injuries, like your goal is to continue to strengthen everything. So, I mean, I don't want to kind of jinx anyone, but everyone gets injured. Even if you do everything right, you will get an injury, and your goal is to be in as best shape and health as possible. So when you do get injured, you can recover and bounce back as fast as possible. And it's like, it's the same thing because we, talking about guys that have illnesses like cancer and things. It's like, well, our goal is to put everyone in the perfect healthy position. And I think it's like, what, 1 in 2 now people get cancer. It's like, if you can put yourself in the healthiest position possible, if you happen to be one of those unlucky 50%, you're in the best position to fight against this thing. Whereas if you neglect this shit, you're really kind of putting yourself behind to try and adapt. And it's the same thing with injuries and things like that. If your diet's on point, you're eating enough protein, you're getting your calcium in, like all of these different things, when you do get injured, you're probably going to recover way faster than someone that smokes, drinks, doesn't exercise. They'll just, they hurt their back, and then 10 years later you see them and they've got a walking cane and they look like Quasimodo because they never tried to kind of get back. They've just accepted it.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is no one thinks it's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're like, training is gonna, it's obviously you can get injured when you train, but if you avoid training to not get injured, you're just going to become really non-resilient and really fragile.
Yep.
And then the risk of injury is way higher. Because now if like you just trip over a curb, it's like, oh, and now your arm's broken. It's like, yeah, because your arm's weak as hell. So it's like, by trying to avoid getting injured through avoiding training, you're actually putting yourself at greater risk of getting injured just from normal day-to-day things because you're just not durable at all.
That's what happened to me, actually, because when I said I was just running all the time, in a way, this injury changed my life because it gave me an appreciation of strength training. It gave me CrossFit, which, friends, everything like that, jobs. I was working as a psychologist when I got injured and then ended up changing my whole career. And, you have to see that something good's going to come out of it as well.
Like, there's a lot of freedom in a change in perspective, and that just like, what, you're 10 years in now with that injury, and like what she just said then, it's like this injury was like a blessing, you know?
But I bet when you first did it, there wasn't that thought
I still
process.
have those days now. I was just like, oh, why has this happened, and all this sort of stuff.
Do you know what I think's really hard for people who get injured as well? Like, so like they'll be like, oh, well, I can't remember, what's that fighter's name that's just had a lung transplant?
Ben Askren.
Do you know if you want someone that's like a good mindset, like listen to his videos, because like he was saying something like, obviously before he was like a UFC fighter, and now he was curling like struggling to curl like a 5-pound dumbbell. And I think what a lot of people think is like they'll always compare to what they could do previously. Like, oh, well, I was like fighting, benching this, shoulder pressing this, and now my goal is to like get out of a wheelchair. Like to be able to be like, well, that's what I did before. I need to find out where I am now and what is the next step. Like that takes some resilience up there. That does.
But if you look as well, like he's a few days out of like the hospital and he's already like trying to like bend his arms.
That's the difference.
That's the difference.
That's what's going to get him to win the game. It's like if he just lay there and just like, oh, well, there we are then, the double lung chance, he wouldn't get anywhere. So it's like you have to change that mindset, isn't it?
Like his ability to be like, well, that's what I could do before, but ultimately this is my circumstances now. What is the next thing that I can do to move me back to where that is? And he's actually curling a 5-pound dumbbell.
And that's really key in that belief. Like we actually spoke about this on like the call yesterday. Is when you first get injured, like you have this belief that it's done and you ain't going to go anywhere then. And it's like, oh, well, training's gone. But like, where's that belief come from? It's mainly like, well, one, you're injured, and two, you're emotional. So you're just gone to the worst case scenario. When actually, like what I found, what really helped me with my shoulder was, again, looking at other people who have had the same surgery that I'm having. So I was looking at different athletes and it was like, oh yeah, this baseball player had it and he returned to playing to a high standard. And then this other person, and I'm like, oh, well, if these guys they've had the same surgery and they've gone back to playing elite level sport where the upper body is a big factor. Well, surely I can end up going back to the gym and just lifting some weights.
Doing a couple of presses.
So like it's a really good way to try and shift your belief. And that's where I'll be like, some clients will be like, oh yeah, my back's, I got a slip disc in my back. And I'm like, oh, but like, have you seen like, I think it's, what is it? Like 65% of blokes over 50 have got discs in their back that are out. A lot of them have pain. Some of them don't have pain. Some of them, there is pain, but it gets better. It's like there's loads of guys who have got your issues that have dealt with it just fine. And just knowing that, it sort of reframes the belief a bit more like, actually, this isn't a dead end. This is just like, okay, yeah, this happens. It is going to be a challenge, but loads of people do come out the other end of this more than fine. Well, look, you've moaned all the time, but you've moaned about your discs. You've got your knee issues. You've got your shoulder. I've got my shoulder. Yet we're all still training.
Well, this is the thing, because it's like, it's almost like a running joke in our coaching department of people just taking the piss out of my back. But equally, it's like, I probably front squat 4 plates. And so it's like, well, your fucking back's bad. You can't front squat 4 plates. You're weak. And so
that's the problem, I think.
Yeah, but it's like, I think as well, people will like almost attach their identity to like, I've got a bad back, I've got a bad shoulder. And it's like, well, do you? Because your back can do a lot of good stuff that other people can't do that have good backs. So it's like, if you always associate yourself with that, it's always going to be on your mind. And it's like, no, can't get a bad back.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And so I think it's like, if someone said to me, like, do you have a bad back? I'd be like, no, it's fine. Like, I've tweaked it a few times, but it's a fully functioning back. But it's I think people will just hold on to stuff and be like, I got bad knees, got a bad back. And it's like, well, if you always believe that, then it's almost like the space between your ears is what throws you off, and you actually get injured in the first place because you overthink stuff when you lift, and you're too conscious of it. You change your technique, and then that's when something goes. But
it becomes a reason to procrastinate then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do this because of my knee. I can't do this. And that's where you said, like, well, look at this client.
Yeah.
Exactly the same circumstances, because we use it a lot with people who'll be like, oh, I'm really busy. I travel a lot, got a family, so I'm never going to lose weight. It's like, oh, are you open to seeing these clients in the same situation?
Yeah.
Down 100 pounds.
Yeah.
it is just it's the difference of like you were saying, surgery 2 days later back in the gym. Like I literally, even when I had the MRI, they were like, yeah, you need to like rest for like the next month. 2 days later, I like waddled to the gym and I was holding on to the sides of the treadmill to like hold my weight. And I was just like shuffling on it.
Yeah.
And then I would like sit on a bench, ask someone to hand me some dumbbells, and I'd be like, I can do some curls and just keep my back really, really still. And it's like, I can just go light and go slower and get my arms to burn. So it's like, I can still do something. And it was like, I still went to the gym every day and was just like, I'm just going to walk a little bit, move around, like keep the routine. But then it's the difference of like, people will like stub their toe and be like, I need to take a break from the gym. It's like, your fucking arms work. Like you still lay on the bench. Like you can do all these other things, but it's you were looking for a reason to throw in the towel. And you believe that this is just your get out of jail free card of like, I can't do it. Tweak my leg, sprain my calf. And it's, whereas the difference in the champions of the first thing they do is go to the gym and be like, what can I do? Cool. I'm going to build my routine around these movements. Or, I mean, even for myself now, like I do way more cardio now than I used to, and I really enjoy it. But I probably wouldn't have got to this point without the back injury, because I'm like, fuck it, I just want to keep lifting heavy. Whereas now it's like, no, I really enjoy the cardio because that's all I could do, because it wasn't loading my back, and it was something that I could at least mentally like struggle with, because that's why I like training, is like the mental struggle of doing something that you suck at and getting better at it. But it is a good opportunity for people to like try something else, and you might find a new passion for a new sport, a new career. Like it can massively shift things.
I think that's the most important thing, is that when you get injured, training doesn't stop, you just adapt.
Yeah. The adaptation is key. It's just that it's strange, isn't it? Because all the issues that we're talking about are physical, but then a lot of the barriers on the back end are mental.
Yeah.
It's just being like, just trying to reframe. Okay, what can I do? Okay, how can I still keep it fun? Okay, look at what other people have done. It's not the end. And then eventually, again, as long as you keep working at it, again, we're not saying all injuries are going to get back to perfect, but it's like you can normally get pretty close to where you were previously.
Yeah.
And you just need a new normal, isn't it? But I think it is the identity shift as well, because it's the identity shift of losing yourself in training, but then you need to do the opposite when you are injured, because as you were saying, people hang on to that injury for years and years, and they see it as a weakness, or it's like the self-talk around, making them more debilitating or giving themselves more barriers, whereas you need to actually lose that identity of being injured. And that's something that I've really tried to work on, because I've had this for so long. I am conscious of not talking about it too much. The irony of being on this podcast. But,
because you won't stop rambling these days.
But I try to just separate myself from it as well, because otherwise you're never going to lose that identity, and then that's going to work against you longer.
Yeah. It's I laugh because it's almost like if I go to the gym, someone will be like, "Oh, how's your back?"
Yeah,
it's fine.
Stop asking me.
Yeah, but I remember who was it? Dorian Yates, the bodybuilder, and he was saying when he was in the gym, and he said every time I go to the gym, there'd be a kid working there, and he'd be like, "How's the diet? How's the diet?" And he'd be prepping for like the Olympia. And then he like one day he just snapped at the kid and he's like, what do you fucking mean? It's like, it's fucking hard. Like, it's shit. It's like, stop asking me. He's like, I'm hungry. But yeah, I think if you're always thinking about it and stuff, then you'll almost like psych yourself out. So I think if we had to kind of summarize kind of everything we spoke about, if someone is experiencing an injury, what's your kind of like top 3 things that you recommend they do right out the gate?
So the first thing is, as we said, have your moment first, but then you need to actually establish what are you capable of doing, because even if you have the same diagnosis as someone else, or again, someone's told you to rest, there's always something you can do. And also 2 people are never going to respond the same to the same injury. So it's about really sort of honing in on what you can actually do, focusing on those. So a lot like Taylor said about building it into the program, obviously working with a coach or a specialist to do that. And then I was just looking at the day to day. I was like, what can I do today? First of all, to help myself, but also to keep myself going. And I just really honing in on the processes, because I was like, as long as I get to the end of the day and I know I've done everything I can to help myself, that's what's going to keep me going. And then, eventually having a look at that sort of longer term plan, because at the start, I don't think you'll actually be ready. So it's like those 3 steps, but I think the longer term plan, you need a bit of time and space to get there first, because when you're in it, it's kind of hard to see out of it. So it's just like we do with, fat loss phases and building into a maintenance phase or muscle building. It's just like sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to see out of it, but you need to have some sort of loose plan. Because if someone would tell me, you're still going to be doing rehab a year later, I just didn't want to hear that at the time. I was like, I don't have the capacity for that. So I just needed to know every single day. So like we do with our clients and we give them daily tasks, it's like, have I done everything today to actually help myself? And I couldn't really think that far ahead at the start, but eventually that's how I would sort of drip feed it in. The same as we do in our programs. It's like progressing every week and building more in, not just with the training, but day to day as well. And even with regards to actually planning ahead.
Do you know when you're in the thick of it as well, and like you can't see out of it? Like a good question to ask is like, what's the default path if I don't do anything at all? So it's like,
what's the alternative?
What's the alternative?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I can lie in bed and my shoulder's going to get worse and I'll probably injure it again.
I'll feel worse.
Yes, it'll help you get out of the thick of it and be like, oh, so maybe I should do these small tasks that Nikki has set. Because if I don't, it's just going to be worse off. And it's a really good way of being like, oh, I'm going to do my mobility today. Even though I don't want to, it's a good way to shift yourself and get out of that thick of it. It's something I found useful.
No, it's happy
100%.
once you've done it then. It's actually 100%. Like, oh, I actually did that. And it gives you a bit of confidence as well.
100%.
Yeah. Well, that's what we spoke about in a previous podcast where we said, like, what's the alternative? Quit.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you a quitter? No. Do your rehab.
Yeah.
Like, but it's sometimes you just need that like 5 minutes of just talking to yourself, being like, I really don't want to do this, but I also really don't want to be a quitter. So I'm going to go and do
the emotion out of it. It's like, just do the task. Like, no, I don't want to do it, but we always have to do stuff we don't really want to do. It's not always going to be fun. It's just like, just get it done.
Yeah.
I found people don't think of that. Like, what's the alternative? It almost sets me back in my seat when you say it. It's like, what's the alternative? It's like, quit. It's like, oh, God, yeah, I better go and do it.
Yeah. Love it. Perfect. Thank you as always for tuning in, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And we'll catch you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, reminding you to always go get what's yours.